One card just made coin flips competitive in Pokemon TCG Pocket. And I'm not talking about some minor buff to existing strategies. I'm talking about cards that were collecting dust in your collection suddenly becoming legitimate threats that could reshape how we think about deck building entirely. The card is Will, and if you've been slipping on coin flip effects because they're too inconsistent for competitive play, you might want to pay attention to this. Here's the thing about coin flip cards in TCG Pocket. They've always had insane potential on paper. We're talking about effects that could swing games instantly, but there's been one massive problem. You can't build a competitive strategy around a 50-50 chance. When you're facing off against optimized meta decks and your win condition depends on getting lucky with a coin flip, at that point that's not strategy, that's gambling. I mean, unless you're like me and you're into that sort of thing. But Will changes everything. This trainer card guarantees that your first coin flip each turn lands on heads. Not increase the chances, it guarantees it. So what does this actually unlock? Let me show you exactly why cards you've probably never considered are about to become problems. Take Alolan Exeggutor. This card deals a hefty 150 damage for 3 energy, but only if you flip heads. Before Will, that was a coin flip away from doing absolutely nothing with your turn. But now you're looking at guaranteed 150 damage. That's pretty much enough to knock out even most Pokemon in the current meta. But that's just the beginning. Tinkaton X deals 80 damage base plus another 80 if you flip heads. With Will, you're suddenly wielding a guaranteed 160 damage nuke. We're talking about damage output that can even eliminate the bulkiest threats in one shot. Now, you might be thinking, okay, guaranteed damage is nice, but what about utility effects? What about the coin flip cards that just don't hit harder but completely disrupt your opponent's strategy? This is where things get really interesting. Aerodactyl and Fan Rotom. Both of these cards can remove opposing Pokemon from the field entirely, but only on heads. Aerodactyl sends them back to the deck, Fan Rotom sends them back to hand. Before Will, these were lottery tickets, but now they're guaranteed removal tools. Picture this scenario. Your Pokemon sets up their perfect board state, gets their key Pokemon positioned exactly where they want it, and then boom, Aerodactyl with Will active sends it straight back to their deck. You just force a complete reset of their entire strategy. But here's where Will gets absolutely broken, and this is the combo that's going to change how people think about this card entirely. Xatu plus Typhlosion. Here's how it works. Xatu has an attack that when you flip heads, sets the opposing Pokemon's HP to exactly 10. Not damage, sets it to 10, regardless of how many HP they started with. Charizard X with 180 HP doesn't matter. With Will active, that's pretty much guaranteed. But wait, there's more. Typhlosion has an ability that you can trigger from the bench to inflict the burn status on any Pokemon. And of course, you should know this by now, that the burn damage happens at the end of each turn. So you use Xatu to set their HP to 10, then immediately trigger Typhlosion's ability to burn them. And that's an instant knockout on any Pokemon, guaranteed. And this is exactly what's happening in the deck building community right now. The Typhlosion Xatu deck has emerged almost overnight, and it's proving to be a far more than just a meme deck. It's a legitimate strategy that can consistently execute this combo. Think about what this means for deck building philosophy. We've been operating under the assumption that coin flip effects are just too unreliable for competitive play. But Will doesn't just make them reliable, it makes them guarantee on the turn that matters most. This isn't just about these specific cards either. There are dozens of coin flip effects that we've dismissed over the months since launch. Cards that might have niche applications, cards that might enable completely new archetypes we haven't even discovered yet. Now, am I saying Will is going to completely flip the meta upside down tomorrow? Probably not. The current top tier decks are still incredibly strong and they don't rely on gimmicks to win games. But what Will does is open up a new realm of possibilities in deck building. It takes cards that were previously unplayable and makes them not just playable, but potentially game changing. And in a game where new cards are constantly being released, where the meta is always evolving, having access to effects that were previously too inconsistent to use, that's kinda huge. The real question isn't whether these coin flip decks will dominate the meta immediately. The question is, what other unplayable cards are sitting in your collection right now, waiting for the right support to become competitive? Will just prove that the line between meme card and meta threat might be thinner than we think. And if you're serious about staying ahead of the curve in competitive TCG Pocket, you might want to start looking at your collection with fresh eyes. What coin flip cards do you think could become viable with Will? Let me know down in the comments below, because this is just the beginning of what could be a complete shift in how we approach deck building in this game. But anyways, I'll see you guys later. Peace.